Hello everyone, it's Blue here. I'm back with some feral changes. These are PTR changes. These are changes that we may possibly see in the future, or if you're running PTR, you can see it now. But these are going to be a lot of changes that we're going to see to our druid, our feral druid talent tree. So I want to go over them. First of all, Feral Druids, Berserk is changing. It's getting a buff from 15 to 20 seconds, which is going to help our energy out a lot. There's a small damage increase right here, 8%. I'm not sure if this is what it was originally, and then the 8% was just the patch, those quick patch changes. So maybe we're not going to actually see the damage. Maybe they are already in place, possibly. Um, Changes to Ferocious Bite with Sabretooth, how it interacts. Of course, Sabretooth refreshing the duration. Maim, damage increase a little bit. So for those that PvP, we're going to see a damage increase on that, which is great. Big change here. Mastery, how Mastery is influenced. We know that Mastery affects our bleeds, but is also going to affect our finishing moves. Okay, that's just Ferocious Bite, which is great. So now Mastery will affect our Ferocious Bite, which is going to make Ferocious Bite a lot higher on the damage. So that's really great to see. That'll be kind of fun and interesting. As you progress, right now, we're seeing that Rip is our strongest ability, which we kind of talked about because that's our greatest scaling ability in some of our other ability or our other videos. So it's going to be interesting to see how that plays because that's going to increase the damage by a lot. Okay, Rake, nothing changed here. Um, looks like Rip. So Rip damage is changing by a lot, which is really great. So it's scaling a lot higher now. So maybe we actually won't see. We probably won't see him competing too much with Ferocious Bite because Rip is getting buffed. I didn't even think about that. Also, the energy is changing, which is great, so we'll be able to rip on our target. Shred damage is increased by quite a bit. So also, I put a video out to fill. Currently, it's not even a bad idea. You might want to test it on the dummies, but currently you can fill out your combo points by just Moonfire and Forget Shred exists. The reason because of that is the energy it costs and the damage it does. The damage it does is not really comparable, I guess. It's not the best to do. The damage Moonfire does isn't that great, but the energy cost to get you to your finishing combo point quicker makes it sometimes better. I'll only shred mostly if it's available, if it's a free cast, but most of the time I'm going to be thrashing and moonfiring, spamming those abilities. So this might help that a little bit. It may give it more damage, more power, because it is a more expensive spell, so we do want it to hit harder. We want it to be a noticeable difference. So that's great. We're going to see that. Okay, so now let's jump into it. Our talents are changing. What are we looking at? Brutal Slash is doing a lot more damage. Awesome, that's great. And its energy cost is even lower, so that's perfect. We're going to be seeing a lot more Brutal Slashes happening with the timers, or I guess with your haste as haste increases, but also your energy is just going to be really good going through the rotation. Next, Primal Wrath. Here we go. We have a brand new spell. Finishing move that deals instant damage and applies rip to all enemies within 10 yards. Lasts longer per combo point. Okay, this is crazy. So we're seeing we're going to be ripping a lot more enemies. What you need to understand though, this is a different rip. It's probably, it's probably going to be the same, but it's 5% of our attack power, right? Let's go up to here. Let's see what rip normally looks like. Let's see the 5 combo point. 5% of attack power times 8. That's what our damage looks like. This is, and now, so this 5 is 25. So this is a fifth of our normal rip, so it's not very strong. But if we have 5 more enemies out, then, or if we have 5 or more enemies, then Primal Wrath is going to be really important. It's also going to depend, though, so you got to think, yeah, 5 targets or more is going to be, or 5 targets is going to be the same as just doing 1 rip on a target. So maybe you think like, oh, actually I just want to put that 1 strong rip up, get my combo points, do another strong rip up. Obviously it depends on how quickly your enemies are going to die, right? Well, we have to think about crit. How much crit do you have? Maybe putting Primal Wrath out there gives you more opportunity for those spells to crit, right? If your crit's really high, then you might want to consider that. So it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. But still a very strong ability. It's going to be bringing a lot of damage for those groups. If you have more than 5 people, holy cow, that is a lot of damage. Especially because it's going to be scaling with our mastery and such. So that is going to be really fun. This is taking place of Savage Roar. Okay, so we have here Brutal Slash and Primal Wrath. Forget about Sabretooth right now. So right now we have Brutal Slash and Primal Wrath. Both AoE options. So it's very interesting. You either have to pick one or the other. Right now, I think I would still go Brutal Slash because there's not too many occasions in dungeons where we're having a lot of mobs that aren't going to die really quickly. Especially in Mythic Plus, you're probably going to be pulling 5, 6, you know, maybe more than that, but Tank's probably not going to be doing that. It's, probably around 4 or 5 maximum. So you got to think, do I really want this Primal Wrath or do I want Brutal Slash? It's going to be it's going to be a change up, and we'll have to see. But so now let's look at Sabretooth, which is also in the talent 90 row. This is just getting moved. So it's getting moved from 90 to 15, and it's getting rid of Predatory. So that's interesting. So we no longer have the ability to refresh our Tiger's Fury. But now we're going to see why. So we are not able to refresh our Tiger's Fury, so we're going to be sucking a little bit on our energy, right? But they give us Savage Roar. So Savage Roar now, finishing move that increases our damage by 10% instead of 15%. So it's a damage decrease. But what does it do is the energy regeneration rate, and it increases our regeneration rate by 10%. So we don't think of this as a damage increase. It's kind of like, I can't think of the name, I'm going Berserk. Sorry, it's kind of like Berserk. It's not a damage increase, but it helps our energy, which we can pump out more spells quickly. So that is the damage increase, right? And it does do a slight damage increase while cat form lasts longer per combo point. So this is really great. This is a lot of damage. Now requires level 75 from 90. So this is moving. So we still have this on the 75 row. And it is taking place of the Jagged Wounds. So we will no longer have to worry about our spells falling off really quickly. So we can slow down our rotation. We can get more ferocious bites in, which is really great because it's going to be affected by our mastery. It'll increase more damage. So that's going to be really fun. Last one is in talent tier 6, taking the place of Sabretooth. From Sabretooth's original position, because Sabretooth is going back up here, right? Is Scent of Blood. Enemies hit by your Thrash reduce the cost of swipe by 3 energy for the next 6 seconds. So this one is crazy. It's interesting. Honestly, we're going to be building differently. So 90 is just going to be straight AoE between the Brutal Slash or the Primal Wrath, so your Rip's hitting essentially a lot of targets, or your Blood Scent, which is just reducing the cost of your swipe. This is going to be interesting because I'm not a great feral player, but when I go single target, I take swipe off my bars. Okay, I don't even use swipe. I think it may not be a wasted spell. There may be opportunities for it, of course, but I just take it off. To me, it's either Brutal Slash or nothing, right? So this one's going to be interesting. This one gives you still the single target possibilities. Gives you still a little bit of the single target possibilities by reducing your swipe, but I think single target, you would probably go Brutal Slash because that's the only option. We don't want an extra rip. We don't want extra rips on a single target boss, right? And we probably aren't going to be worrying about Blood Scent reducing our swipe damage because we're probably not going to be swiping. So it's going to be difficult to see because it's just like, oh, if I do want that swipe energy reduced, why don't I just Brutal Slash, right? So this talent to me is not very great. Maybe you can think of opportunities to use it, but it's really difficult to think, why would I use that instead of Brutal Slash? So really cool, really fun. These are the changes here. We can go on to see a few different changes for restoration. Shred damage. Okay, so shred damage is increased. We saw that. And thrash damage is increased slightly. and it scales a little bit more off of attack power with the bleed does, so that's really nice. And then we see also the traits, the Azurite traits. So these are your big damage abilities, right? So Blood Mist, they want Blood Mist to go be a little bit higher in the damage meters than it is, which is really cool. I liked Blood Mist. I thought this would be the ability for us. We were really struggling with energy. I thought this was going to push us through that, but obviously it just didn't do enough. It didn't provide enough damage, and probably didn't proc Berserk enough for it to be relevant. But they are trying to put this back, so maybe we'll see this later, or maybe we'll see it rise up. I'm not sure. I don't think so. Also gushing lacerations. So Rip will deal additional damage and have a 6% chance to award a combo point each time it deals damage, which is really cool. So our Rip will do more damage and help us get a little bit more combo points. So maybe that one will be up there as well. That would be really neat to see some of the Feral abilities come back instead of just kind of what do I have here? Some of just the standard traits. We're not really even using any of our Feral abilities. Raking Ferocity just isn't up there enough for me not to use Laser Matrix. But that's it, everyone. I hope you enjoyed it. So we have some really fun changes happening to Feral Druids in the form of AoE, which is really cool, really exciting. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Take it easy, everyone.